let me ask you about the iPhone and the Zoom, if I may. The Zoom was getting some traction, and Steve Jobs goes to Macworld, and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with the plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music. It'll do internet. It'll do email. It'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
How do you compete with that, though? He sucked out a lot of the spotlight in the last few weeks because of what happened at Macworld, not only with the iPhone, but with the new iPod. How do you compete with that, with the Zoom?
Right now, well, let's take phones first. Right now, we're selling millions and millions and millions of phones a year. Apple is selling 0 phones a year.
Which year? Steve Ballmer, CEO, Microsoft.
And the year was...
It was 2 months before release of the iPhone 3 in 2007. And this is from the last night. I don't know if you have read it already, but Apple had a release for the first quarter 2016 last night. And they made a new record. They made 24.9% in revenue. $18.4 billion on a turnover of $76 billion. So quite good, even if they don't sell any mobile phones.
So we have many questions, and we decided to concentrate a few of them. This is question number 1. Question number 2, and how can we motivate everyone for the digitalization? And the second one is about what we are talking in German mostly. How can we better ask our audience what they really need?
We ended up in quite fundamental questions because we thought that we were not ready yet to go into details when we hadn't come this far. So that's why we ended up there. Is this me?
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, we ended up with quite fundamental questions. And we were discussing, okay, how do we do this? What does our to-do list look like? Okay, start from the top. Make sure U.S. experience was that not even management was sure about why we're doing this. So even if it's popular now to start from the bottom and take the ideas from the bottom, you need to make sure that the management and the board, perhaps even the board, take even the board out to a safari to make them understand why we're doing this. Now, this should be the easy part, but we think that it's crucial to start there. And then work was the stuff, starting with the why, and take every possible opportunity to talk about facts and figures, supposed to say the present situation now. How are we doing with mobile? How are we doing with this and that? Blah, blah, blah. Tell the story about the company as it was and as it's supposed to be. Now, this is not going to do the trick, but it's certainly going to help to lay a foundation of what you need to say. So start from the top, go to the bottom. We had a discussion about this. We talked about the safaris that we truly believe in. You have to experience. You're not going to buy the pictures if you're just shown a lot of facts and figures. You need to experience this. You need to take your management out and talk to the readers or the listeners or whoever, customers, and you have to take your staff out. Now, still pretty basic, but when we were discussing this, we had the only bright thought, I think, the brightest thought that struck our minds was something completely else.
So, our new hypothesis.
Who is the hypothesis?
We don't even try. No, we don't even try. Let's stop that. We do not work in a legacy media. That is the topics. And the new thinking is that actually we need to rethink and think as a startup company. And why do we think like that? Have a next slide. We need to think in another direction in order to not have our mind already decided what to do. So when we start with the why thing, we are having more like an open questionnaire, and that means that we need also to start to look in new directions, and we need to have sort of a blank sort of sheet of thinking. Otherwise, I think we'll go in with a mindset that we have, as in a way, a solution already, even though we say we don't have. But underneath in our minds, we need to sort of put a stop of that rethinking in a way that what we are going to do. We need to sort of really start from the very beginning. And that means also that we have to reorganize the staff and to break the silo walls. And we need to move very fast. So we goes back actually to the to-do list that we had in the beginning. We need to start again with the why, and also have this shared leadership, meaning that the staff and we as a team need to go out and find this how thinking. And we need to involve them in different way of doing this with safaris and other forums together with the facts and figures we have. That's what we were sort of.
So we were starting with one question, searching for the solution for that, but we came up with another question, taking us back to basics, and now we really need to do our homework because.
So we are sort of redefining everything and goes back to the very beginning over and over again in a way.
So that was the brightest thought that came out of that reasoning. Is this me again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is question 2. How can we better ask our audience what they need? And now you could. That's a big one. We started out discussing ideas, and we discussed ideas with the guys that we met on Akershus, was that the name? At Vinterfjord. These two guys, they have started a company with an idea of creating a platform where consumers and businesses can meet to. Consumers can go in there if they want to rent a big machine, like Skylift for painting their house and stuff like that. So, and here is their take on how they work with ideas.
Sorry for this Windows specialty.
We can use both whenever we figure out a new idea. So we just sort of mind mapped all the ideas we had, and we just built that to a big sheet of a lot of ideas.
For how long did you do that?
That was approximately a couple of months. And what was very important is that we weren't critical at all about what we put in there. It was just any problem that we encountered, any loose idea, anything that we saw that why are we struggling with this today? You know, kind of this could have been done so much better if we did this, and we just completely uncritical, put in everything we could think of into this mind mapping.
And how did you narrow the list down?
Yeah, we started to sort of half of the ideas were so unrealistic that we could put them on hold immediately. And then we went idea by idea, we talked about it, discussed it. So what is it realistic? How much time would it take? How much resources would it take financially and other resources? And from that we sort of ended up with a top list with a
How many ideas approximately on the top list?
maybe 4 or 5 ideas were good enough to
Was the final idea on that short list by that time? Mm-hmm.
It was a top one at that time.
Okay.
So already there, we perhaps already knew where we would end, in what idea we would go ahead with.
We have 2 ideas at the almost final stage, I think. And based on what we saw was most promising, and also could take us there in a fairly amount of time.
What was decided?
And there you have an important word, time.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
How do you do that?
Okay, so what did we learn from this, from the meeting we had with Fredrik and Asle, and what came out of the discussions that we had? For once, you need time to think. These guys used several months with their thinking cap on, taking down ideas in a mind map sort of application they used. And they organized them, and they showed us the tree. It was majestic. It was very impressive. And this also connects to what Anders talked to yesterday. The pretzel, organize your process. Be sure to pick up the ideas and work with them in an organized way. Well, there are many thoughts about this, and we didn't have time to dig so deep. But it was also painfully clear to us that you should not do like Fredrik and Asle, because they had their thinking caps on, forgetting to ask their audience or their customers to be. We asked them that very clearly. Did you go to anybody, to partner up with anybody before you developed this service? Well, we asked some, but they told us to come back when we had something. And Mika was just falling apart here about being a salesperson, right?
Yeah, as Jonas said, they hadn't thought about the customers at all, not at all. In a couple of minutes, we found out at least 3, 4, 5 different business models, new business models, and we found out a couple of big issues that they can't go further from, because they was like planning something very, very huge without thinking about the customer's business models at all. So
and we were also talking about they were 2 engineers trying to do everything. And this sort of points out what Anders talked about yesterday, to gather the full group and use the full organization. People like Mika, who can come in with sales knowledge, and other people that knows the market. I mean, if you would have been there with them for 2 months before, they would have had another idea, another approach to, I hope.
yes, I think. But they said that if somebody's gonna steal our idea, we hope them will do it immediately. So we don't put so much effort on this one and can turn back.
Yeah.
But they have to turn back because they had made some huge mistakes during the trip. But the idea was actually really good, and I gave them 3 new customers that they can benchmark in Finland. So maybe the most important value for this was fail fast and cheap.
Yeah.
And their main target was to have enough turnover so they could hire people, have employees, so they could move on to continue to develop new things. So they were really sort of developer, not really sort of running a company.
So this was also a reminder for us that we need to get back to reality, to really to in a serious way ask our audience or show our audience, this is what we can do. Now, what do you really want? What do you really need? And we don't want to we don't want to push a product on our clients and say, look at our fancy product here. Isn't this a good idea? Wouldn't you hop on here and we'll make you happy. So another reminder of that. Exactly how we do it, well, we didn't come that far, but we came back to the new hypothesis. In Finnish, uusi hypotheesi.
I like that. Yeah. So we think really the sort of the conclusion of those days when we have done discussions in our group work and the sort of safari with the interviewer and so on, that the way of thinking as a startup company is a really good way for us to drive our media houses forward. And it means that we need to go back and redefine, and we need to work with the solutions or the problems from a problem point of view with this milkshake example, for instance. How can we solve the customer or the clients' problems they have, and how will they consume media, and what do they want from us? So we really need to go out there and be close to the market.
We spoke about the organization as well, that should we split up the company in, for example, two parts, that we have the old business fashion fit business model, that some people will not be transformed to the new one, they will not accept it. We know that everybody has the same problems. So could we do like Kaleva? So you have, for example, two different organizations, one doing the new business and the other one doing the old one. Because maybe that's an easy way to get excuse for the earlier failures we made a lot, and the future, of course.
So we came up with this. We learned some. We got a little bit wiser, but we didn't get so many answers to our questions really. But hey, that's
part of the process.
Part of the process, right?
Learning process.
But we got many questions to get home, and I think that will get us
new questions.
Yes.
New questions.
Yes.
No answers. New questions.
Okay, questions from you guys.
Okay, thank you.
How did they react to your questions that you?
No, they were open. They were open, and they wanted. They asked for input. Yeah. What do you guys think? Anything that we say or anything you know that you can help us with? They knew. They had been out asking, but to me, or they seemed to be engineers in many ways, and they lacked the sales and the marketing skills. And
did they realize that they've been working in the wrong way with the wrong book?
Actually, no. They were like, when we were asking about have you tested your idea with the customers, they were like, well, no, we have taught them by ourselves and talk with few friends.
For example, we gave them some advice, but they were very driven by the technique, the software. But for example, if you paint your house and you have to hire a skylift, and you hire it from Monday to Thursday, and then it's a rainy day, and you have to continue your hire for one day, but then somebody has already hired the same machine from Friday to Sunday, so it's almost impossible to get the business model actually work that way. And
but they started out their process in a good way, I think, because they started out with thinking about, okay, they had two main points that they wanted to make. One, they wanted to digitalize an old business, and they found it, because this business is run by phones and post-it notes. Two, they wanted to solve a problem. So I think they started in the right direction, but they loved their idea so much, so they didn't really want to challenge it. Or that was my feeling anyway. So.
And they had a time point of view as well. They didn't want to spend too much time either. They need to move quite quickly, since they have left sort of their employed in Kungsberger.
Yeah, they quit their jobs.
They quit their job, yes. So they were sort of running out of time as well.
So in February, their product was going to be ready, and now they were going to go out and show the product. So I felt a little bit nervous for those guys, because the product is good, the idea is good, but is it really going to work?
Yeah.
Or the company's just going to say, looks nice, guys, but I got so much to do. Bye bye.
but there was one thing: they were very lucky because they didn't like go to a corner with their product, because you can transform it to many good things, even that wise. So
Yeah, it was flexible.
yeah, it was really flexible. So hopefully they will make a success.
But why should I rent the Skylift from them?
It's not from them.
No.
They're making a
They had a
network
platform.
So if you
They don't own the Skylift.
no.
No.
Collecting information like in a database, building a platform, and they're providing a service, and they take the distribution commission. What's their income?
I can give you a good example. How many of you owns a släpvagn? How often do you use it? If you have one, once a month. Why can't you have it like so you can?
Yeah. But there are services like this already.
Yes.
But these were more for like skylifts and the stuff.
And they went for a smaller companies, like more like family.
Yeah. But they had
Rental
they had a clear problem that they wanted to solve, which I thought was, and they said that on the market, if you want to rent grävmaskin or whatever, you have to. Everything is made by telephone. You call the first company, and they will manually look up somewhere written on the wall if they have one available the week 10 or something, and then often they don't even know where their machine is. And if that's not available, you have to call the next person, the next company. And you can, spend hours doing this. And then finally, you don't know what the pricing is. So you don't know if it's better to change the week to another week because you don't know how much it is. So it's actually a problem, and I like that with them, that they focused on the problem.
They had really done their thing.
Yeah,
part of the thinking.
yes, but they
Absolutely.
But they haven't done the whole thing.
no, they included the customers too late. I agree on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions?
What are you going to do differently tomorrow morning when you come home and be a startup company?
That was my question.
Yeah, that we did. Actually, we came up with this, or Karin came up with this Uusi hypothesis and new hypothesis, and we didn't come so much further than that, to be honest.
No, I think I was just thinking if I'm coming home now and realize that we are doing a lot of things, but we are sort of thinking ahead, like the Winterfjord in a way. So I think that I need to go back from the beginning and have this mindset that I have to redefine and the question for myself and for the company, and really what kind of problem are we going to solve? Because we don't know that. We have an idea, but in the end, talking for my company, we haven't really made a safari yet. We haven't really asked. We have some thoughts. So what I'm going to do different is what I already decided since Copenhagen, when we have
we have to
we have to go back and redefine and really change the way of how we behave ourselves now, the way we are, redefining or entering different tasks. We need to do it in different ways.
We have to solve a problem, not sell a product.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the biggest thing. We have to think otherwise. Because now we're trying to make something which is transparent maybe to the old business models. But that's not the right way to work. We have to solve a problem for our customers.
That's actually good. It's the same question, but when you get home and you meet your team or your colleagues and they ask what was the most important takeaway in a tweet. For you, perhaps it's we need to solve a problem, not sell a product. So it would be nice to hear from all of you guys.
This is mine.
Yeah.
Don't look in your backpack. Don't think about what all the nice skills that you have that has been so useful for so many 150 years next year for my newspaper. Think about, don't look in the rearview mirror. Think there, and then when you know what needs there are, try to make that work with the competencies. Don't take your competencies and think what you can do with them.
That's more than 140 signs.
Well, he's a journalist, he can boil it down.
Make a shortcut. Landing page.
I have a question concerning the startup company. We discussed a lot around should we or would it be a good idea to separate this innovation part to a completely new startup company that could have free hands, and that is one of the things
Like
where I have a bit changed my mind during these days. But how much did Juha and Kaleva's choice to do that influence your new hypothesis about a startup company?
There's a good start, I think, in our company to buying this indie days and thinking that we can take a part of our company to create something new. But we are just in the beginning of that road. But I think it might be a good uusi hypothesis for them and for all of us, because we are talking a lot about that we need to do something differently. What are we really doing?
Okay, so you are building it now around the Indie Days team that you bought?
No, Indie Days team, I think it's a good model for us.
Do you think that it's important to, when you're doing this split, to focus on not old and new, or print and digital? Because my experience from Mittmedia is, as I said the first day, that many of the best ideas have actually arisen from the old business. People, journalists that has been journalists for a long time, having a new possibilities to make transformation things differently.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to think that the old business also needs to change. So you don't. How can you do that, or how are you doing it?
You can't limit this kind of thinking just for the new part of the organization. It needs to be the whole. And like you said, it might be something.
I think that's the most challenging thing with doing this diversity, diversity in the company, to manage that.
It's a very classical question, actually. It's called the skunk works. Is one way that you talk about. You do a lot of innovation when you do this separate. You give a lot of freedom. Usually take them away from the other organization and the constraints. But it's true. It's not a remedy for everything, because you end up also getting problems. In my previous company at YLE, we started the internet operations very much like that. There was a small organization who got a lot of funding to get new people in, started making new things. There was a lot of energy, but I tell you, it took 10 years to work out those sort of tensions that it built within the organization, and in a way you can even argue that it slowed the whole process down in a sense. But it's also, it can also work, but I think it works better when you do it on a specific product, not as a specific sort of part of an organization, but you develop and launch one product in that way, and then you try to introduce it into.
I think it's important to include everybody actually, because I got a sort of a sentence or buzzword up in my head says "mind the gap," because what you can end up is building the gap between the innovation and sort of the people who's working on the daily operation. So that's why we were saying that the question that if we focus on the why thing, and that we need to get into the how. That the how is the shared responsibility, not the management responsibility to find the solution on the how thing. Because that is normally how we run the business. We are supposed to come with the how thing, and everybody sits back and waits for the how. So just that sort of journey to get everybody on board that we need to take on the how together will be a challenge.
But somehow if you give free hands for the people responsible for the print, they can make new creative decisions. I think they can make it better than it's now.
Yeah, because I think it's a risk that you have to be aware of, that you have a company where you have some organizations that think that innovation is somewhere else, because innovation isn't somewhere else. Innovation is part of everybody's jobs today in our business, and not only in our business, as you said last night, in very many business right now. Innovation is a part of your job. Before, that could be, a group or an organization somewhere else, externally or internally. But that's not the truth today, actually. And what Camilla and Bosse and Learning Minds and everybody has seen in the science now is that people get more individualistic and love to experiment. People do want to do that also in their work. So to find, it's important to remember that.
And given our financial position and our position and declining position on the market, it's not just a part of what we do, it's maybe the most important thing that we do.
Exactly. That's
and then I think if you have this fear and the feeling that you can lose your job tomorrow, I think everybody wants to have a fair chance to see if they can contribute and be engaged in actually to stay on the boat. So I think we need to work across the borders, not thinking just one single group.
Can I ask you a question? The first question you had was how to get the management on the train, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
How will you do that when you come home? Because I think it's a question that, some top management is wrong, but that could be a problem for many companies right now.
We discussed about measurement, new measurement, or open information, even, so people have to take a bigger.
And also to take them out and experience.
But if you come and tell them we have to go out together, will they follow?
Well, we have. For my company, we have already.
Yeah.
So.
What I have been doing is that I have been sort of try to include them beforehand, even before I actually entered these training sessions, so they should know a little bit more about the agenda. So I had shared also the articles and links. I tried to sort of include them in what kind of process I'm going through, because they are not here, and that is the problem. And then I think you have to do it in a sort of small steps, but you have to be quite firm on you have to have an idea yourself how you should do it. So I think I'm going to use some of the materials that we have had here and some of the media, the movie, maybe how to do this project thinking, and try to work with their minds in a way. And then I have to take a decision during the way if I maybe will add on some more sort of resources. Maybe you are coming to help me, or I have to sort of innovate my way. It's very hard to get one answer in.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.